It's so good to have you on the podcast.
Hi, Georgia. Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
I'd like to start off by asking every guest a bit about themselves and who's in their family. Do you mind telling us?
Yeah, of course. So I have two little ones. My daughter's 4 years old, 4.5, actually, and my son is about to turn 2. I live with
Wow,
my husband in Bedfordshire.
lovely. And I know today that we're going to focus mainly on your son's birth, but
Yeah.
just to give, I suppose, the listeners a bit of an overview on your first birth, do you mind just giving us, I suppose, a brief look at what happened there and maybe how that influenced what you wanted to do second time round?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's had a pretty big impact. So I think it is an important story to share. Um, but my first pregnancy was pretty uncomplicated, straightforward. I was feeling okay, and yeah, pretty excited for the birth. So I got to the due date. Obviously, nothing happened, as with many of the first-time mums. It needs to take a little bit longer, and pretty quickly, I started feeling a lot of pressure in terms of, when is this baby coming? We need to start talking about inductions. And yeah, it started getting a little bit stressful on that front. Um, and I had a couple of sweeps, which to me were sold as just that natural way of inducing labor, get things going. Um, so I agreed to those, and very quickly after the second one, I started getting cramps and that discomfort. So I was excited, thinking, "Oh yeah, it actually worked this time! Brilliant! It's about to happen. I'm about to meet my firstborn." Um, but that kept kind of going and going for 48 hours. I couldn't sleep, but it wasn't progressing. Um, And I knew I had an induction booked in for 41 plus 5. And yeah, I was feeling like, oh, we've got a deadline here, so I better do something. How can I get this baby out? Which definitely added a lot of pressure, unnecessary pressure in the last couple of days. So I was very uncomfortable. I couldn't sleep at all. I remember watching the Olympics just all day and all night. Thankfully, something was like
On.
um, on, um, and it eventually started progressing. And I felt like, okay, things are really happening now. I called up triage, and they suggested me going in to have a check. That was on my booked induction date. So I thought, oh, maybe we get lucky and it happens before we actually need to do anything about it. And got to the hospital. I was in, really high spirits, really excited for what's to come despite the sleepless nights. But as soon as I got there was no staff available to even welcome me in. There was no one able to do an assessment on me at all, not to speak
Okay.
to me at all. And they were so busy and understaffed. And it was still kind of COVID times. So I was on my own in the corridor in the triage
Oh,
building. My husband was outside the door, and there was nowhere to sit down. I was not, like, no one even spoke to me. They kind of looked at me and said, "You don't really look like you're in labor. Wait." And I was on my own for over 2 hours, and I did not know, you know, what the next steps were. What am I supposed to do here? Which felt, yeah, like I was immediately put into that uncomfortable, unsafe situation on my own, and just, the panic started kicking in. Like, what is going on? Like, how is there no midwives to even assess me? But I tried to stay in the zone, listen to my music, some meditations, all that, and eventually a community midwife from out of area arrived to look after me, and she walked me to the midwife-led center on site. and showed me to the room and, let me kind of just explore the room a little bit, get comfortable, which was nice. But I think she also immediately started doubting me, telling me, "Oh, you don't really look like you're in labor. I've never seen anyone so happy in labor." I was trying to stay positive and feel excited about this change. And despite the delay, I wanted to feel comfortable there. But we really didn't gel at all. I felt like she didn't know the hospital. She didn't know the hospital equipment. She wasn't able to help me set up the bed properly. She didn't know where anything was because she was out of area. She'd never been to that hospital, or it was a very, very long time ago. And she was pretty open about it, which to me felt like, it's just a strange thing to say, that you don't know how to open, she didn't know how to use the heart monitor, to check on baby. And I was like, is this a person who's really going to look after me and make sure I'm safe here? And it just started getting worse from that, in terms of how unsafe I felt and how unheard I felt. Thankfully, labor was progressing okay until, I was uncomfortable, but it was manageable. I was dealing with it kind of on my own, despite hair being there. And then, whilst doing a vaginal examination, she accidentally broke my washers as well, which you're supposed to be told about the risk of that happening. I can't remember if I was told. I probably knew it was a risk. Obviously, someone putting their fingers up, there is a risk of that happening, and that definitely, made the discomfort go from manageable to completely, something that I felt like couldn't handle. It just suddenly the contractions were coming so quickly, and they were completely just, for me, something I couldn't, just withstand for much longer. But at the same time, I felt like the midwife didn't believe me. And she kept telling me, "Are you feeling, like the urge to push?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's not nothing obvious." And she was like telling me, "What do you mean you don't know? Surely." And surely it doesn't feel the same for everyone. And yeah, it's just, that was the common theme. She didn't believe me. I felt really unsafe because of her bedside manner and how she was treating me. And I was in a lot of pain at that point. I was begging both my husband and the midwife to do something. I was screaming, "Why is no one doing anything? This is not right. Something's wrong. I need a C-section now, please." Just literally begging them. And they were, my poor husband was doing his best, trying to give me the gas and air and the water, but the midwife was offering me no reassurance or no support whatsoever. And yeah, it took hours and hours of that, of that pain, until eventually my daughter was born. And it felt like, despite having the midwife there, it felt like I was really on my own there. I had no one on my side supporting me, that I
So
felt safe.
horrible.
Yeah, and it's interesting because physically my body did its thing. I didn't need any intervention in terms of
Incredible,
forceps or anything like that, or C-section. But I was definitely very traumatized, because of just that feeling of, being, this being out of control, being in so much pain and feeling so unsafe in a hospital, because it's a midwife-led unit, but it's on the same site. And yes, there were a few other things that happened with the midwife later, even after the birth. Like, she just lied to me about how many stitches she would give me for my tear. She kept saying, "This is the last one," and then doing another one kind of without telling me, which was honestly, again, very painful.
Yeah.
She told me
Did
off
you
for
have local? Did they put local in or like
yes,
gas and
yes, but it
air?
was
But it's
still
still,
uncomfortable. I
mm,
remember being really uncomfortable, and also
it
she
doesn't
told me
always
off
take the
for
feeling away, does it?
no, I don't know. Like, it maybe didn't work properly, but it took a while. It was quite a few stitches, even though it was only a
Mm.
2-degree tear. But um,
Just be honest. You're like, just be honest.
yeah,
Just
like,
say
it's just
it's going to be a bit longer. I can't guarantee
or
how
give
long,
me
but I'm trying
I
my
know,
best.
and I know, and she almost felt proud of like, oh, I've done such a good job with your stitches. I'm like, like, I'm
I would
so
hope
in
so.
so much pain, but thanks, I guess. And then she told me off for feeding my daughter wrong, or like not knowing how to hold her properly. I'm like,
Mm.
this is I'm so sore. I've just been through so much. And all I need is someone telling me, you've done a good job. Well done. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, my husband had to leave whilst I was being moved on to the maternity ward. And she kind of gave me that comment saying, "Oh, don't feel bad about how bad your birth was. Not everyone kind of gets a good story." And I'm like, "What are you doing this? Like, just
Mm.
making me feel like I've failed, or like any of this was my fault." Um, so anyway, I went home the same day. Thankfully, everything was okay. My daughter was well. I was okay. But I knew straight away that I was going to need some mental health support to process that experience, just that loss of control, that feeling of I felt really, really unsafe. I felt like I was going to die, like this wasn't normal. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, I spoke to my I had a postnatal doula booked in, spoke to her about it really quickly, managed to, get some of the feelings and the words out. Spoke
Mm.
to my GP really quickly about needing support because I was getting flashbacks. I was like, I
Mm.
was struggling and obviously exhausted. I had not slept for days at that point. So thankfully, I did get a lot of support really quickly. I was in therapy really quickly. I
Well
was
done.
diagnosed with PTSD very quickly. So I was surprised, positively kind of
Mm.
pleased that it was taken seriously. And I think because of that, I was able to process the experience, and I don't have like a long-term PTSD from it at all, and I'm happy to talk about it. But yeah, definitely huge impact on what
Wow.
happened with my
Yeah.
second pregnancy and birth, as you can imagine.
I mean, Monica, that is a lot to take in, and it's really interesting. I've had a few mothers on now who have shared kind of parallel stories to this, and the running theme is that people think that if you have a physiological birth or a vaginal birth that you have, that is the golden ticket to feeling good after birth, and there are so many other layers to it, like and then the common one that I hear is not feeling safe, not feeling listened to, not having control, not having the ability to advocate for themselves, and like all of these little things that might seem so tiny on the day, but that's what ends up driving your mental state postpartum. And for you, like, how terrifying to go into the only healthcare system we have, unless you go private, which, like, who goes private, and not feeling supported. And obviously this is not everyone's, this isn't, I hope that it's an isolated event. I'm sure everyone has different stories, but that must have felt, really frightening.
Yeah, and it's so tricky because I did NCT, and I did have a group of moms I could talk to, and every single one of them had
Mm,
something about their birth that they found traumatic in a way, or that, didn't go to plan. And
mm,
yeah, I think a lot of families go through similar things. And often the common denominator is that they're not being listened to, or that there just isn't the staff available to look after
yeah.
them, which just seems ridiculous, knowing that this is,
Mm,
for many families, one of the biggest, scariest, maybe not scariest, but like, one of
mm.
the most stressful
Monumental.
important experiences of their life. And this is a new life as well, like a new baby being born, and that can impact bonding. It can impact everything about
Mm,
postpartum feeding. um so the fact that there isn't enough funding or whatever, it's not just being made a priority,
mm,
is absolutely shocking, and it's very, very unfair for many families. And yeah, I think I was unlucky that there was no midwives available, but also,
mm.
whose responsibility is it? Like,
Yeah. So complex.
mm,
And we are so incredibly lucky to have the NHS. Don't get me wrong. I am the biggest advocate for
yeah, of
the
course.
NHS. Without the consultants and the midwives, you know, myself and Kit would have been in a very different position to where we are now. So I am forever grateful to have those interventions and to have
Mm,
free healthcare. If you look at, other countries that just do not have access to the world, the UK's top doctors and all of that. But every system has flaws.
yeah.
And it was just a shame that you were, that you suffered in a way that other women don't have to. So I guess, Monica, leading on to your second birth. So after that, well, I want to deep dive so much into it, but in the interest of time, we will move on.
Hmm.
So do you want to talk me through how you came to decide to conceive your little boy, and at what point you felt ready, and what was that conception journey like?
Hmm. um so we always knew we wanted to have more than one. So it has always been a plan. And when my daughter was about a year old, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit older, we said, okay, maybe maybe we're ready. In that delusion, like, maybe we could handle another one. Why not?
You
And
think you're fine. You're like, we got this.
I know, I know.
Haven't discovered the
Uh,
twos or threes yet.
yeah, well, maybe I'm glad we just, went
Mm,
for it. I was still breastfeeding hair, so we knew it might take a little bit longer. With hair, it did take us not super long, but I think 8 or 9 months. And then
mm.
we, with me breastfeeding, I thought it might take even longer than that, because yeah, you never know what your hormones are going to do. Um,
Had your cycle returned?
yes, not
Okay,
long
cool. So you
before,
were, yeah,
but so it wasn't super regular. Um,
yeah.
but
But
she
you
was
knew that
not.
you were ovulating
Yeah, well, yeah,
potentially.
I
Your
started
cycles
tracking
returned.
pretty
Yeah,
pretty early on in the conception journey, because yeah, I
mm.
mean, so hearing about my first story, you might have kind of understood a little bit that I like to be in control of things, and it's tricky
Fair
when,
enough.
I know, but like, even with trying to conceive, um, I just wanted to see what my body was doing. So I was tracking ovulation, and it did take us probably another 7, 8 months, 7 cycles to get pregnant. But that was a good time for us, and so we were very happy when we found out I was pregnant. And yeah, the first thing I did, I think, after seeing the pregnancy test, was to get in touch with a few local doulas to try to get some support from, literally, it was probably 6 weeks pregnant. I knew I was
Fantastic.
going to need
Yeah.
someone there for the birth.
Mm,
That was the priority for me,
mm.
and potentially for the pregnancy as well, so I could, talk about my fears and my trauma, and really get prepared from that side. Um, so yeah, that was literally one of the, I think before we told family before before
So
we
good.
told anyone who was the doula that knew, and it was definitely the right decision. And then I was very, very nauseous for 20-ish weeks after that. I
Wow.
was really unwell. Like, thankfully not sickness, but just horrible, debilitating nausea. I was on medication. I can't even think about it now.
Was
um,
that the same in your first?
it wasn't as bad with my first. I was nauseous,
Yeah.
but it was COVID and I didn't have any kids to look after. So I was
Mm.
just like in bed all day, you know. It was a completely different experience with a toddler running
Mm.
around. Um, and yeah, I was doing some part-time work as well. It was awful. It was
Yeah.
not fun at all.
Tough.
And yeah, as soon as my husband would come back from work, I was in bed till the morning. I could not function at all. I was just like surviving through the day with the toddler,
Yeah.
and then yeah, just crashing. But otherwise, pregnancy was pretty uncomplicated again, thankfully. And on my at my booking appointment, the midwife was like, I must have mentioned to her about my previous experience and not being a fan of just the hospital
Mm.
birth. She was like, "Oh, you would be the perfect candidate for a home birth." I'm like, "Haha, don't be silly. Like,
Mm.
obviously not. I want to be in the safe place possible with the operating room next door. Never. Ha ha ha." But that thought never kind of left my mind. And
Mm.
I talked to my doula about it. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do a home birth. I don't think it's for me. I like the security, the safety net of the operating room, the doctor. And
Mm.
obviously my doula said, fine, yeah, your choice. But it just I just kept thinking about it and researching it and listening to other people's stories, and it's just, I think at that point I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to like myself that, oh, maybe it
Mm.
is something I should look into more, because I had
It felt
so many.
scary.
It felt like, who does this? Like,
Mm.
and I just didn't know anyone who had a home birth. I didn't know it was really available on the NHS. I didn't know anything about it because it was never kind of part of the conversation for me. So I was, yeah, just unaware of what a wonderful option it could be for some families. Um, but yeah, I don't remember what it was that made me think, okay, yes, this is for me. But yeah, I think it was a gradual process, and then I remember telling my husband about it. Because yeah, at first we told everyone,
Yeah.
yes, we're going to this hospital. Hopefully the midwife-led center, but we'll see. And then I told him, actually, you know what? I think we're gonna have a home birth. And he surprisingly was never against it. Like, I was expecting to get at least some pushback from him, but for him, I think seeing me in hospital with the level of care I didn't get, I suppose. I
Yeah.
think he wasn't surprised, and I think on some level he knew it might be the right choice for us too. All he asked of me was to, like, let's look into it properly, let's do some research, let's talk to some people, to the midwives, to the doula, and make sure it's as safe as any other option. And then, yeah, I spoke to my doula. I remember her being quite, just happy for me that I've opened up to other opportunities. And yeah, just it really got exciting from that point. You know, my
Mm.
control freak side started just trying to do everything to prepare for the home birth. I had
Mm.
spreadsheets. I had um,
Wow.
oh, I get to the ridiculous level of, I need this amount of snacks, this, type list for the husband, list for whoever. But it gave me a purpose in that whole
Mm.
nausea-induced pregnancy to to focus on something exciting. And I really did see it as something very exciting. Um, yeah, I think we kept it pretty like we didn't tell many people about it, not even my family, because I knew I just didn't need a negative energy, people telling me, is this safe? That I would never
Mm.
do it. So yeah, I think only my mum knew and my best friends here, which I think tells you a lot about, how many families might feel about home birth in general, and how there's still quite a lot of negative stigma or just a lack of awareness of what it involves.
Yeah, and I think it's very hard for people to put their own personal stories that
Mm,
they've heard, or like if their baby was high risk, they would never consider it. But actually,
mm,
if you were low risk and you don't have any of those risk factors that whereby you should be placed close to a hospital, then we know from
mm,
the studies and recent studies that it can be the safest option and is the safest option for mum and baby. But I suppose everyone has their own experiences, family stories, friend stories, like you, and then you see stuff in the media, and sadly, no one writes about the success stories, do they? They write about the
no,
stories that go wrong. So I
yeah.
can imagine, I can understand why you would want to keep that kind of closer to your chest and not tell everyone in your network. Were you planning on going through an NHS home birth, or were you planning private midwife care?
Yes. So I was lucky enough to live in an area with a dedicated home birth team. At that point,
Great.
the home birth team is no longer.
Yeah.
um, common story again, which is, I mean, a huge shame. It was a wonderful team, and I was so lucky to be under the care. They came to my house, they got to know me, my family. It was the same midwife every time.
Mm,
Just incredible level
mm.
of care. Best memories. My daughter still remembers the midwife coming. My daughter was able to
Oh.
help the midwife, do the heart tracing, whatever. It was wonderful. My husband could be there. I didn't have to travel to hospital or wherever whilst being ill with my nausea. It
Mm,
was beautiful, and I really felt heard. She knew about my history, she knew about my trauma, my triggers. I mean, there's just nothing like it. It was a completely different
mm,
experience, and I can't really imagine doing it any other way now. But yeah, I think everyone deserves that kind of care when you
mm.
are pregnant and about to have a baby. So I was very happy with the team. No concerns there. Obviously, there was always that doubt of my mind that there might not be anyone available on the day to come to you, because they always tell you that there is that risk,
Mm.
a real risk. And yeah, I think, at that point, our plan B was to travel to hospital, if there was
Would
no
you
one
have
available.
gone, sorry to cut you off, would you have gone to a different hospital?
Um,
Or would you have gone to the hospital that you went
y-
to, or were you like,
I would
we'll
have gone
drive
to a
further away?
different one for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever want to step foot in that hospital just because of,
Mm.
yeah, I had a
How you
previous bad
feel?
experience there as well with my miscarriage before I had my daughter, and I was again
Oh,
same kind of experience, completely. I mean,
Monica.
yeah, I ended up hemorrhaging and collapsing on the
Oh my
floor. No one.
God.
I mean, it was again a completely different story.
I'm so
Um,
sorry.
but yeah, I was really let down,
No
twice at that
wonder.
hospital. So the third time I would definitely not be at the same hospital.
Mm.
Um, but thankfully I have two in kind of the same distance away, so I did
Yeah.
have a choice. Um,
Great.
and yeah, again, nothing major happening, during the last few weeks. Until again we got to the due date, and nothing happens.
Happened.
Surprise, surprise. But this time I was under the home birth team, so there was zero pressure. I mean, it was just a completely different experience. They have to inform you of the risks of potentially being pregnant a little bit longer, but I all I said was no, thank you, and that was it. So I got to 42 weeks and nothing happened still. And I'm like, okay, now is this is this the point where I'm supposed to start getting a little bit
Are they ever coming out?
yeah, like, has my body forgotten about what is happening? And my mom was here as well, because I thought I needed childcare for my daughter, so my mum was here getting anxious. Her flight back was in a few
Oh
days,
God.
and like, what was happening? But thankfully, I just, I did have a lot of support from my husband, from my midwife, from my mum, even though she was getting like a little bit anxious about
Come
the
on, baby.
situation. She started baking me, some kind of cakes that were supposed to induce labor with
Bless her.
I think she was getting anxious about it, but I was feeling great. There was nothing to suggest that me or baby were struggling, so we stayed put. I said no thank you to monitoring scans at that point, because I knew the moment I stepped foot in hospital they would find something, big baby or low fluid, or something that potentially would put that seed of doubt in my mind about waiting a little bit longer. I was taking it day by day. I was like, okay, I wake up, am I still feeling okay? Is baby moving? Is baby active? Am I active? And if the answer was yes, I was gonna carry on with the day. And that was it. We did not have a set deadline in mind in terms of when we might possibly accept some sort of intervention. We were just taking it day by day and listening to our gut about it, I guess. And thankfully, 2 o'clock on, I think I was at that point 17 day past my due date. So yeah, 3 days over the 2 weeks that they give you in theory. And I started feeling the first contractions. They were not strong at all, but I could definitely tell that it was finally something, that something was about to start. And I just stayed in bed for the next few hours, chilling. They were quite regular, but maybe 7 minutes apart. I could talk through them. I was comfortable. And about 5 a.m., I went downstairs with my husband at that point. I told him, let's start getting everything set up, because obviously he had a long list of things to do. I had a very clear
Can
vision
imagine.
in my head of what I wanted that birth area to look like. And we had the pool from our doula. So that was his job. And I went upstairs to, just chill and try to rest as much as possible. It was still very early in the day. So we just knew it was the beginning of hopefully the meeting our son. And about, I think half an hour later, they were starting to get a lot more regular, say every 3 minutes. So I messaged my doula about 6:18. I know exactly what time it was, to tell her, haha, tonight, I think today is finally the day. Just excited about it. And gave her a quick call afterwards just to let her know that I think things are, starting to get a little bit more serious in that. I think this is labor, as opposed to what I had before, just a warm-up. Because I've been having some Braxton Hicks and just like the warm-up contractions for quite a few weeks at that point. But this time I knew, okay, this is probably the real thing, finally. And so she said, yeah, give me a call when you feel like you need my support, and I'll come over. So at that point, my husband came upstairs to check on me. I was starting to struggle a little bit, as in, like, you could see the change in me from this bubbly, happy, moving about to like needing to bear down a little bit, starting to make noises. At that point, we should have had like some sort of alarm
Alarm
going.
bells.
Okay, this is different. But I was completely oblivious. I just thought, because of my previous experience, I thought I was going to be in excruciating pain
Days. Yeah.
for hours, and so did my husband. So we were like, okay, this is probably maybe active labor, but hours away,
Tell
if
me
not
the birth
days.
pool was set up.
Oh,
Did you
well,
have a
I've
birth
never
pool?
actually seen it.
Oh, here, okay. Keep going then. Yeah.
But we did have a birth pool. He had a whole, graph of where everything goes. Birth pool. I had the
Bless him.
the birthing ball, the sofa covered in waterproof
There was a vision.
sheets and blankets. There was a little screen, for privacy. There was a snack area.
Very
I mean,
whimsical.
I do have a tendency to like over focus on things that might not end up being the most important things, but it gave me something to focus on, which was probably
Mm.
positive. So yeah, within 20 minutes of that call, the first call to my doula, so it happened really quickly, I was suddenly bearing down. I was suddenly making a lot of noise. So I told my husband, let's call her in, just, so we have someone here just in case things get more serious quickly. And at the same time, well, a couple minutes later, we called the triage team at the hospital to let the home birth midwives know that we might need their support quite soon. And that was about 7 a.m.
Monica's got her little boy with us now.
Yes. Hopefully he lets me finish his birth
So,
story.
yeah. So at 7 a.m., roughly.
Mhm. Yeah, my mom was awake by that point. Actually, she had a shower, and I think she must have heard me. I was in the bedroom upstairs, and she knocked on my door, and all I could say to her was, "Take my daughter out of the house." That's it. And I said it in English. That's not the language we normally talk to each other, but I
Mm.
was just not there
Mm. Was
anymore.
your daughter awake?
So my daughter was still asleep at that point. So I'll never know if that was the right call, because like I didn't want her to wake up for the last,
Yeah.
for the bits where I'm screaming, where I'm obviously
Yeah.
uncomfortable, without having the chance to talk to her, tell her that it's happening, mummy's okay. Because I think to wake up to that might have been a little bit too much for a 2-year-old. At least that's how I felt in the moment. And my mum, within minutes, she was out of the door. she took that very seriously, even though it was 7 a.m. Thankfully, it was July, so quite warm. They left
Yeah.
without the shoes on. My daughter was still in her PJs. My mum was the first person to know
Oh.
how, how quick it was happening. And yeah,
Yeah.
so she literally scooped her up out of her bed and went for us to walk around.
Oh, what a
And my
gem.
husband was still downstairs after saying goodbye to my daughter. So it's 7:10. He was fighting with the pool, trying to inflate it.
Mm.
Because for the last few months, I've been telling him, your most important job on the day is to inflate and fill the pool. That's all you need to do. If that's not done, come on. So
Mm.
he felt like, a bit, yeah, he wasn't sure if he was now to stay with me and to support me until the doula
Mm.
made it there, or focus on that pool. So he was downstairs, 7:10, and then he must have just had me. He came up. I was still in the bedroom at that point, and I told him, I'm in so much pain. This is happening. Um,
Mm.
and let's try the shower just for pain relief. Like, I thought, water, we can't have the pool yet. I still thought, he was going to go down and inflated when the doula made it here. So I
Yeah.
was like, in the meantime, let's get in the shower, and hopefully I get some relief from the warmth. My shower is tiny, like it's a bathtub, really narrow. I was on all fours at that point. I couldn't obviously really be comfortable in bed. Like, you can't spread your legs at all. And that's when I knew I could feel the head coming out as soon as I got into the water. And I told my husband, I can feel the head coming out. He did have a look. He said, there's no head. And he kind of, what's she talking about? He messaged my doula saying, she thinks it's almost out. That's like literally, I think it was, 7:15. And I knew he didn't believe me, and I didn't feel like it was necessarily like his fault. Like, I had just realized this, and I felt this strong urge to talk to my baby. And I told my son, this is very unusual for me, but I just felt so connected. And I told my son, we're going to have to do this now. We are a team. We're going to be okay. Let's do it. And I was talking out loud, and my husband heard it. And I think that's when he realized, okay, like, something is definitely
Getting real.
happening. And I reached down, and I felt my son's head. And I told my husband, next contraction, the head is going to be born. Leave the head alone. Like, I was instructing him on what to do, because we had not prepared to do this on our own. Obviously, my husband never delivered, helped deliver a baby. So I told him, the head's going to turn, just let it be. And the contraction later, I'm going to push the baby out. And that's exactly what happened. The next contraction, the head was born. The baby
Remarkable.
turned, the head turned. The shower was still on, so the baby was getting all the water onto his face. My husband at that point was under the shower as well, still fully clothed, obviously,
Awesome.
completely unprepared. And my husband caught him.
Oh,
Somehow, I don't know how he did that. Uh,
so magical.
and yeah, I turned around, sat down in the bathtub, and just cuddled him. It took him a little while to cry. So it was, it probably felt a lot longer than it actually was. But I think because of the shock and the quick delivery, he needed a little bit of a, maybe stimulation, a little bit more of massage. He started crying, and then he was really calm. So, yeah, I think that was it. 7:22. He was born before the midwives made it there, before the doula made it there. And then we realized maybe we should call an ambulance now, because just in case we need some support, like this brand new baby, we don't really know if we need support or not. So my husband called the ambulance, and they were here within 5 minutes. It was so quick. But the midwife made it here first. So she was already upstairs when the ambulance, like, it happened so quick. So the midwife got here first, and she told the ambulance crew that they were no longer needed because baby was out, baby was fine, mum was fine. Then my doula arrived pretty much within the same minute as the ambulance. And yeah, it was very, very calm from then on. And yeah, we've been on that high. We still talk about it. It's just such a powerful
Yeah.
experience. And
Insane. I mean, just in the best way.
yeah, and if you told me this story before I had my first or even after, I was like, that must have been so traumatic to go through
mm,
this on your own, to not have everyone. I'm like, I felt so safe
mm,
just in my own home with my own thoughts, with no one telling me I can't do this, with no one telling me I'm
mm,
doing it wrong. Oh yes, because my midwife in my first birth kept telling me I was breathing on the bassinet wrong. And it just made me feel like, if I can't even do that right, like how am I going to
mm.
give birth to a baby? What's this? I was on my own most of the time. My husband was there for the last bit, thankfully. But other than that, it was I felt so safe. I felt,
So
yeah,
lovely.
I can't even imagine it going any better than that, even though it definitely didn't go to plan in terms of having the midwives and the doula there. And yeah, I sat in that bathtub for another hour probably. It was
With him on
very
you?
uncomfortable with him on me, with the placenta still on me. So we waited for that to come out.
Did that come out
Um,
naturally or did you have the
yeah,
injection?
yeah, it did after probably like 50 minutes, I'd say,
Yeah.
to an hour. All the birth setup, the towels,
Mm.
everything that we had was still downstairs. My husband used the best, freshest towels from our cupboard to put on me. But
I mean,
by the time, then when the placenta came out, we just went to bed, really. I laid down. I did need a couple of stitches, which were done on my bed. And
did you
yeah,
have
it
gas and
was
air?
just
Like you and they were
for the
fine?
stitches. Yes,
Yeah.
I had Castaner for
But that
that.
wasn't too bad, yeah.
No, I mean, I had some, hot tea in my hand, drinking it. Just, yeah, it was a completely different experience. And obviously, I felt really safe with that midwife because it was the same midwife that
Mm.
was my midwife throughout the pregnancy. So she knew me, I knew her. And she made it to the birth within, I think, 25 minutes from the call.
Yeah.
So it's not like it took them a
Incredible.
long time. It was just a
Mm.
really quick birth. And yeah, my mom came back with my daughter not long after. They were able to meet um, my baby. And it just felt like, wow, this was just such a different experience. And yeah, beautiful. And I think we still talk about it as if it was just this fun day out almost, just something exciting. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just s- yeah. Well,
So
I take a
cool.
shower in that same shower every day now, and it still
Yeah.
feels very special. Um, but
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, Monica, I'm so glad that that was your second birth and you had an experience so opposite to what you had, with your first birth. I mean, it must have felt so healing and transformative,
Yeah.
and I'm sure has made you see and appreciate birth for what it can be as well.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's made me rethink a lot of things, and it's inspired me to support families and new mums in particular, and in other ways. And yeah, unfortunately, a month after his birth,
Mm.
they have the home birth team was what was the word?
Closed down.
Closed down. Yeah, so the home birth team was closed down because of whatever. They've never really given a reason other than probably just finances and not
Resourcing.
enough demand for it, I guess.
Mm.
But yeah, it's such a shame that that option. Well, it's not been taken away because thankfully you can obviously still give birth at home. You're just being
Mm.
cared for by the community midwife team. So it's just, yeah, you don't really know who you're going to get on the day and how much
Yeah.
experience they have and how confident they feel with supporting a home birth. But
Yeah.
it is still an option, and as it should be for anyone
Mm.
interested. And like I said, like, even though I didn't need the midwife support for the birth because it was so
Mm.
quickly, not having to rush to hospital, not having to, add that stress into my experience, getting to hospital and, traveling in the car, I don't think I could have done it. So I would have given birth at home anyway. But
Yeah.
having done the preparation and the thinking and just being mentally prepared for it has definitely
Yeah.
helped to feel like this was a very positive experience rather than a traumatic, unplanned birth before arrival with no
Yeah.
assistance. So yeah, I think it might have not been just a coincidence. It probably was the fact that I felt confident in my choice and I had prepared for it, and I just trusted my body and my intuition this time with, declining scans, declining extra monitoring for the last few days, just staying in my bubble
Yeah.
and letting my body do its job without interruption.
Such a remarkable story for people to listen to, because I feel like it's just a testament to you can have a different story the second time round if you just, I mean, you stayed positive the whole way through, but also just, it sounds like you went in really well researched and well armed and kind of knew exactly what you wanted and stayed really
Yeah.
true to the outcome you wanted. And like,
Mm.
look, who knows? I mean, everyone's experience is different. Some women, try for that home birth and for reasons out of their hands, they do have to transfer, be it, but your body knew what it was doing. And,
Mm.
you were, it's hard, right? Because I know everyone says like every woman has the ability to have a physiological birth. And to some extent, every woman does. But some women, maybe they don't labor quickly. Maybe they struggle to progress. Maybe their bodies don't, get in the zone as quick as others, and therefore interventions happen sooner than other women. But I guess I hope that for anyone listening or watching this, they can feel comfort in that, even as you say, a story that seems like maybe like a birth before arrival set might sound scary to some people, but you look back on it so fondly and so positively and in such a beautiful way that hopefully it will make others know and feel that it doesn't always have to be a scary situation.
Yeah. Like you said, everyone's different. It doesn't mean one option is better than the other at all. It's just, listening to your gut, looking at your situation, not just what hospital policy is for, the population on a population level, because it might be different. There's, everyone's different. It should be a lot more individualized.
Correct.
To actually be able to assess any risks or, just be able to make an informed choice rather than being told you are, a day over this age, so you have to do it this way, or you have to have this, or you go for 2 days longer than a pregnancy should, inverted commas, that's why we have to do this. It might not have to be that way, and it's so important to find people who can help you understand these things and be on your side and support you in trusting your intuition about what you want for your birth, rather than what was decided X years ago based on research that was done on population level, not your level.
Completely. Well, Monika, on that note, I do love to finish every episode with a piece of advice. So if you could offer any piece of advice to a woman listening to this, that from your personal experiences, what would you say to that woman?
Stay curious. Like, if there are any questions in your mind, ask away, research it. If you have any doubts, talk to someone about it. Try and understand what your intuition is telling you, or what your midwives are telling you. And there's never, question too silly. It's so important to really get all the information to make informed decisions about your care. And you do have choice. So yeah, just stay curious and see where that takes you.
Oh, thank you, Monika. Beautiful words. And I'm just so grateful you came on to share your stories, because, wow, I just think there are going to be so many women who will learn so much from them. So I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Oh, I'll let you go now, but see you
Thank you.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.